Well, although we're doing a lot of studio stuff today, of course, in the book, I talked about how to shoot beautiful landscapes, and there's a couple of key things that you need to know, camera gear wise and otherwise, to get those kind of landscapes, because there is a recipe for landscape photography, and there's a couple of different things to consider. Number one, great landscape photography happens twice a day, at around dawn and around dusk. Get there before dawn, get completely set up, because some of the most beautiful light's going to happen before the sun actually comes up. Once the sun comes up, once you have sunrise in the morning, the quality of light starts going dramatically down. Once the sky's up, once 15 minutes, 20 minutes past sunrise, the light gets bad. And this is absolutely critical. If I could sit down with somebody and really have a heart-to-heart with them and say, do you really want to improve your landscape photography? You know what you got to do? You have to shoot when the pros shoot. They shoot 15 minutes before dawn, through dawn, 15 minutes afterwards, and they put their gear up and they go to breakfast. So that's number one. Number two is go about a half hour before dusk and shoot. Don't just shoot right to dusk and pack it up. Wait another 15 to 20 minutes, because there's still some gorgeous light. In fact, you can almost sometimes wait a half hour after dusk and get absolutely beautiful light. Those are the two times where landscapes look beautiful. Now, can you get a beautiful landscape at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? You can get a pretty decent one, you can get an okay one, but every time I see one at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't care how pretty it is, all you can think to yourself is, man, you know how good that would have looked if they'd have been there at dawn, if they'd have been there at dusk, because that's where the great light is. So that's absolutely critical. Now, if you're going to follow that basic logic that you've got to be there then you're going to have to make some things that you're going to have to do in the camera to make this work. Number one is you absolutely, positively have to shoot on a tripod. All right, you absolutely, positively have to have a tripod. This is the one I use. It's the Gitzo Mountaineer. It's a very, very heavy-duty tripod with a ball head. Why do you need a heavy-duty tripod? Well, number one, it does more than just hold your camera steady. It holds it incredibly steady. It has to, because you're going to be outside. It's not just going to hold your camera steady, it's going to keep it from falling over in high winds. And you're going to be shooting a lot of times in outdoors in less than ideal situations. And when it comes to these, do you really need these big heavy legs and all? Absolutely. You know, my friend Bill Fortney, who's a world famous landscape photographer, he really said it best. He said there's two kinds of tripods, ones that are light and convenient to carry around, and then there's good ones. You got to have a good one. Number two is, to make your life easier, you got to get a ball head. You don't have to get the brand that I have, you don't have to get the one that I have, but you have to get a ball head. What a ball head's going to do is make your life so much easier in the field. You're just going to release one button, it's going to move you around. Now, I have a quick release bracket that I use that makes life easier too. That's not absolutely necessary, but I'm going to mount my camera here on the quick release bracket, lock it down. I always give it a little tug to make sure it's locked down. Then anytime I want to change my view for my landscape, I'm just going to turn one knob and flip it around, and I'm ready to go. All right, so having a ball head, it'll just make your life so much. When I see people using pistol grips or these things, oh, with the bars, oh, it's so painful. When someone switches to a ball head, it is a one-way trip. You will never, never switch back, because they are just incredible. Not just for landscapes, but specifically for any type of shooting you're doing, they're just fantastic. Now, that being said, what kind of lens do we use? I recommend using a wide angle lens. The widest angle lens you can get before it becomes a fisheye. So a 12 to 24, in this case a 14 to 24, because I'm on a full frame camera that's very wide. And this is a very important thing about full frame cameras. One of the biggest advantages of full frame is for people who shoot landscapes, because a full frame camera will get you a wider view with the same kind of lens. So 14 millimeters put on a Nikon D300, for example, is not going to get you nearly as wide angle a shot as a 14 millimeter camera on a full frame camera. So if you're a landscape photographer, full frame cameras do offer you a very big advantage. Besides all the other advantages, one of the big advantages is it lets you get wider, and they're just really, really fantastic when you're doing landscapes. All right, a couple other tools you need. What your concerns are, because you're always going to be shooting in low light, either at dawn or at dusk. It's going to be you do not want to touch the camera. So you're going to need some kind of a cable release. Now the cable release allows you to fire the camera without touching or creating any vibration here, and that's exactly what you want. There's a little place on the front where you just pop this open, it's the second one down, and it screws right in. Now you can buy wireless remotes too. You don't have to have one that actually is wired to the camera. In fact, some of the less expensive cameras have less expensive remotes you can buy very inexpensively and just do the whole thing wirelessly. But that's what you're going to do. You're going to use this to fire your camera. You want to step away and not touch this in any way. And that way you're ready to go. Now, what happens if you don't have a cable release? Because I often find myself on a landscape shoot without a cable release because I forgot to put it in my bag or whatever. So there is another kind of workaround. What you can do is set your camera to self-timer mode. Now, you'll hear some people argue this point back and forth. How long do you have to leave the self-timer on? The default on most cameras is 10 seconds. It's going to go for 10 seconds and then take the shot. Some people say you can lower it to 5 seconds safely, and at that point there's no camera shake. I just have mine to 2 seconds. Do you know why? I just don't have the patience to wait 5 seconds. So you think 5 seconds? When you try to go 5 seconds between shots, it just seems like a lifetime. So I have mine go beep, beep, and then fire. So I'll just go ahead and put it on this mode, and we'll go ahead and get a shot of Adam here. Beeps for a couple of seconds. Feels like a lot longer than 10 seconds, doesn't it? That's why I go to the menu and switch mine to 2 seconds. There's actually a thing on the back where you have timers. I'm going to go and set my timer, self-timer, to 2 seconds. Watch the difference. Much, much better. All right, these are the tools that you need. This is all that you need to make great landscape photos. What's more important is what time you get there versus the quality of your lens, the quality of your camera, or everything else, because the quality of light is what makes great landscape photography. I'm also going to tell you something that you don't hear a lot of people talk about, and that is there is a very key component of landscape photography, and that is luck. If you happen to get there on a morning where there's beautiful cloud cover and the sun comes up and there's all these beautiful, fabulous clouds to catch the color, you're going to have an incredible sunrise. If you get there on that morning and there's not a single cloud in the sky, the sun is just going to come up. So there is a bit of luck involved. So how can you make luck on your side? Go to that location more than once. Because if you just go there once, it's a total roll of the dice whether you're going to have a fabulous sunrise or just the sun's going to come up on an empty sky. So increase your chances to have a lucky morning. Go again and again and again. If you found that special place, that beautiful mountain, the lake with the glassy water, how do you get glassy water? You happen to be there on a day where there's no wind. How do you do that? You go again and again and again. So when you open up a landscape calendar and you see these incredible shots, understand that these people have dedicated their lives to this. They may have gone to that location 25 times to be there that one morning where it had incredible clouds, it had glassy water and the whole 9 yards. But you can be sure that when they were there, they were on a sturdy tripod. They had a great ball head. They used a camera release. They had a wide angle lens. They made sure they didn't introduce anything that would ruin the quality of that shot. But the key thing is if you're not there when the light's great, you're not going to get a shot with great light.